हे गाइस, वेलकम अगेन। आज मैं फिर से एक और नई वीडियो लेके आया हूँ और इसका नाम है इंटरवल लिस्ट इंटरसेक्शन लीट कोड की प्रॉब्लम है डे 23। लेट्स सी कि ये क्या प्रॉब्लम है एंड लेट्स गो टू द लीट कोड. So guys, let us understand this problem, what it is. And the given problem is like it is based on the two list intervals. So the given two list of closed intervals, each list of interval is pairwise disjoint and in sorted order. So let me just go through the first paragraph so that I can get to understand much better, and then after I'll let you know what the problem is. So return the intersection of these two interval list, so that because earlier we were approaching this line by line, but from the first line it is not able to understand properly. So that is why I'm going each and every line, then after we can summarize what the problem is. So the given two list of closed intervals, each list interval is pairwise disjoint. So pairwise means like we kind of having some kind of coordinates or some kind of points. Basically, the pair of points where like it will be in again array or something like this as per the first statement. And what we have to done is return the intersection of these two interval lists. Okay, so they wanted us to return some kind of intersection where any of the list points, like the two list points, are intersecting each other. So let us see from the example itself what the problem is. And another paragraph says formally a closed interval is a of b, right? As I told you earlier, where they were saying internal pairwise disjoint, it means they were having some kind of pairs of points. So like the point in kind of pixels basically, or kind of representing the position. So A and B are the 2 points basically that we have. Points in terms of like if you're not correlating with the points. So I would say like in geometry and mathematics, we used to call them points. There we like for each and every dash, and after if we are like if we draw a line and we do have a certain points over it, then after we can draw a line, right? So on the basis of that, I'm saying that this A is another point and B is another point. So they are saying pairwise disjoint. So with the condition of A less than equals to B. Okay. So they are saying that the first point should be less than equals to B. Okay. Denotes the set of real numbers X where A, okay, less than equals to b, and right, the intersection of the two closed intervals is a set of real numbers that is either empty or can be represented as closed intervals. Okay, for example, the intersection of 1 of 3 and 2 or 4 is 2 of 3. They are saying 1 of 3 and 2 of 4. So let us open the whiteboard so that we can understand much better, right? So I start drawing. Let me just draw 1 and 3 and 2 and 4 without okay, right. So let me say this is a 1 of 3, right? So I say let's 0, and this is a 1, and this is a 2, and this is a 3. So they are saying 1 to 3, right? So let me just consider this as an, so consider this as an box, right? And second intersection and point is 2 to 4. So let's say I'm drawing another box, um, which is this, right? This is 3, 3, and this is 2, and this is 4, right? So they are saying one is this one and second one is this one. What we have to find out is like we have to find out the intersection points. So like if you see, this is the starting point and this is the ending point of the intersection of both the list, right? So what it will come around, so it will come around, this is a 2 and this is a 3. Got it? So this is the problem statement that we have, And there's a one more corner cases. Let's say what happens if this gets started from here, like so, right? So if this is starting from there, then this pointer will be counted, like means only the 3 comma 3 will be the answer in this case, right? Otherwise this would be the case, because this is the only line, no other things, like no other pointers are intersecting, and this is the ending at this point, this is the beginning at this point. So one thing, in order to resolve this problem, let's go by the example first. So the first example says the similar thing that I've already explained it to you here, and we'll go again, A and B are intersecting at this position, which is a 1, because this is starting from 0, and so this will be a 1, and the at the 2 it is getting end, but it is get like B is getting ended at 4 5, I guess, right? So 2 comma 5 will be the first answer. So sorry, I would say the initial of the, like, we have to find out the intersection of these things. So if I calculate, this is the first point and this is the second point that we have to calculate. So this is the first point, which is 1, right? And second point, this is the last point, which is the 2. So 1 and 2, got it? This is the second one. As I told you, there's a one corner cases if some of the things are getting ended at the one point, and from there first list is getting started, then it will be the second point. So in this case, this is the 5 and 5, as I told you here, right? 3 and 3. So similarly, all these intersection points are going to be calculated. What we have to find out? We have to find out all these intervals that are intersected at each other within these two lists. So let's see how we can approach this problem. So if you have noticed from the diagram itself, that we have to find out this point, right? This the ending point of the A list, right? Or the starting point of the B, right? Or there could be a scenario where I am having some kind of list here, like 1, and in between that, right, in between that I am having a subarray, right? I'm having the elements. So what we will do is, what we will do is, like, we have to find out this value, right? This is the pointer that we have to find out, first point, and this is the last point that that we need to find out. How we will calculate that, we will see, like, in a moment. So if you notice that the beginning of the first, or I would say the like the maximum, I would say that this is ending at the 2, and this is ending at the B is ending at the I guess this is a 5 value, right? So B is ending at 5 and A is ending at 2, right? So the because since this is a ending at a 5, but intersecting is, like, intercepting it, so maximum of this thing, right? Maximum of this value, and right, so that we can get this boundary, and the minimum of, right, this boundary. What I mean to say is, like, we need to some kind of we need to apply on the points itself. For an example, just to explain you much better what I am trying to say. So from graph itself, it is not going to be understandable much better. So from there you can find out this 0 to 2, right? 0 to 2, and in B 1 to 5, right? 1 to 5. So what we can see is, like, if I find out if I can calculate on a basis of some formula where in between 2 and 5, right? What point do I need to pick as per the intersection? This, the minimum value of amongst 2 points, right? So first, let me just open the notepad. Yep. So first algo will be, first step will be minimum of a last point of A and last point of B. What I mean to say is, this is the last point, right? We have a and B pointers, right? A and B point, and in B also we have a and B point, right? So last point means the B point basically. So if I compare with the 0 and 2, so minimum of last of A into 2 comma 5, right? So this I have picked it and this I have picked it, right? This basically the 2 value and the this one. So I need to find out the minimum one from where it is getting ended, right? So minimum of 2 will return the 2 itself. Now we need to find out the initial value. This is the ending value, right? This is the ending line that we got. In here example, if we can say we got this line, right? But we need to find out this line. So again, coming, so if you have noticed, we need to find out a maximum value here. Like for an example, 0 to 1, if I compare 0 with 1, I need to find out from where the value is getting intersected. So it means the maximum value amongst these 2 points. So the second step would be maximum of the last point of A and last point of B. So that will return us 0 comma 1, right, as per the pointers. So this will return 0. All right. So what we have got, 2 and 0. uh, Sorry, we have to find out the maximum. So this one, right? So one, why did we apply the maximum? Because we need to find out the where it is getting intersected, and the maximum point value will initiate from because if I take the minimum one, this will take this initial position, right? But I need to find out the maximum value of amongst 2 pointers. So let's say you can say like in order to understand much better, you can say if someone is like we have a 2 boundaries, right? This is getting started from here and this is getting started from here, right? So I need what I will say is like the initial boundary would be like this one, right? So what I will do is I need to compare this point with this point. If the value is greater than, so let's say if I'm having a 0 1 2 and I would say 1 2, so you will say that if I step go ahead by 1, then it will be equal, right? So this is why I'm saying the initial pointer, initial I need to find the initial pointer that will be maximum of these 2 pointers, right? Got it? So this is how it is getting calculated. Now let's write an algorithm for this problem statement. If you didn't get this problem, let me know. I'll try to explain you in another details. But I guess you may got your answer that and second corner case that I've told you, that if some of the intersection point is getting ended at one point, and from that point it is getting started, or from another list it is getting started. Let's in this example, B is getting ended at 5 and A is getting started from 5, right? So what we will do is like we will return this 5 pointer. So what we can do is like a step by step go ahead with the procedure. And one more thing, there is a condition, right? There's one more condition that they have provided, that A should be less than or equals to B, right? So that we have to implement also. So third point will be like when we are iterating through each and every element, we need to find that if they are satisfying this position, then after it should go ahead, otherwise it should not consider intersection point, right? So this is a base condition where from where we have to consider this is a basically intersection point, right? So if we need to find out the intersection position, uh, so step third, intersection formula, I would say, right? Where they have said A should be less than equals to B. A is the basically the point and B is again the second point, right? So this is the point and this is the second point, right? So let's start with the problem statement. Sorry, I just scrolled it so down. Um, yep. Yeah, so let's see how we can approach this problem. So we have initiated two points basically with the zero value, right? As I told you earlier, we have 2 points here, A and B. So you can say a minimum of A and B, right? So there's a one catch here, like because we have provided a matrix 2 by 2 column, right? So this is a basically matrix of like 2 by 3, 2 or 3 by 3. This is a 2D array basically, and this is also a 2D array, right? Which is having a two points inside it. So in this example, this is an array, right? Inside this array, we have an element with an array itself, which contains a pointer and a point and a point. So on x-axis, it consists of like if I draw some kind of line, if I point it here, so what it will say? Let's say I am drawing it here. So this will have x value and this will have y value, right? So for a point, for 1 point, this will have a two values, right? Got it? Similarly, all those value will be calculated, right? And we, since we need to return the intervals in an our array format, so that is why we are saying intervals, and this is an interval array. So this is basically, this would be our result intervals, result output. Got it? Since we don't know, like as I told you earlier in my earlier examples also, if we do not know how many repetitions are going to be happen in later point of time, so we would like still of thinking some scenarios, what we can do is we can iterate via while loop, where a while loop can have certain condition. Based on that, we can iterate over each and every value. The certain condition would be the end of this list. So if this list gets ended, or if this array gets ended, then the while loop gets should have been broken. So what we have to do is, like, we have to consider this case. So this is the case where I'm checking that the first pointer should be less than equals to a dot length, which is a matrix of length, and the b pointer should be less than equals to b of length, right? A point is basically I'm running on the A matrix, and B point is I'm running on the B matrix, right? Got it? So let's see how we can achieve. So this is basically, this is checking that if we are not reaching to the end of this list, right? This while loops basically check. And what we are doing is like step by step. Let me just hide all those steps, so that much better can be understandable. So here the I have taken one pointer and second pointer. This is a pointer, this is not a point. Basically this is a pointer where I'm getting the values. This is basically the pointer, this point. Sorry, I was saying pointer, sorry, it should be point. I start point and I end point, indexing of this position and this position. So as I explained you that in find the maximum of both arrays, a maximum of points of both arrays, right? So which I'm getting from the start point, right? As I told you in explanation, this maximum of last point of A and maximum point of last point of B, maximum of last point of A and last point of B, that will give me a initial position, right? So I'm getting the initial position, and end position I'm getting by the minimum. And a will be the my initial values or initial indexing. So a0 by 0 means is, like if I go a 0th element, right, 0th element of 0th element, it means array of index. If I calculate the 0 1 2 3, right, there's a 4 elements, right? Inside this 4 element, one element have 2 points. So 0 point and 0 index, at 0 indexing we have a 0, and at 1 indexing we have a 2 value, right? So we need to find 0 of 0 indexing, right? So that is why a is 0 and this is 0. Similarly for b, 0 and 0, right? So what we are saying is, similarly, a 0 of 0 and b 0 of 0. A 0 of 0 and b 0 of 0, find the max of it. So max is basically 1, right? So I'm getting that 1. And the minimum similarly for 1 itself. So I'm here saying a 1 index and the last index. Here I'm calculating based on this index and this index, right? So this I'm getting. And now the third step is that I've told you that there is a condition called a should be less than equals to b. So this is kind of same, that we starting point should less than equals to end point, then after it is an intersecting, otherwise not. So what if, like if we are having an array this, and this is starting here and this is starting here, so none of things are getting intersected, right? So that boundary check is being prevented from this points. So we are saying that I start point and should be less than or equal to I end point. I start point, right? This point basically, I start point, right? This is the start point, start, and this is the end point. So start is less than equals to end. Otherwise, if this start is here, then it should not be a case, right? It should not be a case of intersection. That is why we are checking this. And if we get this intersection point, what we have to do is we have to find out a interval, right? We got this interval, right? The starting point and the ending point. So what we can do is we will push that pointer points to the as an array, right? If you see the output, I got this first and second, right? And then after I need to increment one by one. Now I have iterated over one element, right? Now I need to iterate over second element, right? So what I can do is, like I can iterate over this value and then compare with the value this. But here is there is a one more catch, because we can't iterate, like we have iterated over these values, but there would be a scenario where this value will get started in between this value, or this value will get started in between this value, right? Many to many, 0 to 2, and this to this. So to make sure, we will increment a one index at a time. It means if I increment a index by a, so it means it will move to this one, and then after it will check with this value. If it didn't find any value, then after it will go to the next value. So what condition will be there, like let's see. So condition will be again the same as they have mentioned it here in the problem statement. A should be less than equals to x and it should be less than equals to b, right? This is the intersection of two closed intervals. So I'm saying that a of 1 and the b of 1 is less than equals to, if this is the less than value, then a value should be incremented. It means if I see with the example here, a1 of 1, right? So this 2 and this 5, right? 2 and 5. If the value of, right, this one, right, the value of this one and the value of this one less than or equals to, so 2 less than equals to 5, this is condition is fulfilled. What we will do is, like, because b is ending at 5 but a is ending at 2, so what we can do is we can increment a counter of A, right? Did you get this thing? Like because A is ended here, there could be scenario that A is again started from here, but B is still in continuation. That is why I'm increasing the A counter, right? So this is why I'm saying that if this is less than equals to B, then counter A counter will be incremented. Otherwise, B counter will be incremented. There could be a scenario that like this, like so, and then B is ending here, but A is ending some other at some other point after this point. So for this point, what we can do is I'll move that index by one after checking this condition, and then after I'll return the intervals. Let's see what the result is, and if I hit run, finished, right? We got the same output, and if I submit it here, the accepted, right? So I guess friends, you will like my video, and this is my first video on English language, so that all other people can get to know much better. I've already got some feedback from other people, and they were saying that if it would be great if I can start in English and try to shorten the length of the video will help us a lot. So that is why I took this video. I've took this video in English, and let me know your feedback so that I can go ahead with your feedbacks also. So that's it guys. Thank you so much. If you learned anything, please do subscribe and likes also, please. Thank you guys. Bye bye.